Hey friends, it's Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, and it's Monday, just another regular Monday here on the homestead. And we're busy with our chores and gonna start school and do everything else that's just on a regular old day. But we are making split pea soup today, and that's another one of our pantry meals. It's an essential meal here, a staple that we make sometimes once or twice a week throughout the winter. And so I thought I'd bring you along and show you our recipe for making that. We're also going to make some sourdough discard crackers today to go along with it. So if those are some meal ideas that interest you, follow along with us. But for now, we're going to get started with our outdoor chores. We're all done with our morning outdoor chores, and we're working on cleaning up inside. I'm getting everything cleaned up from breakfast, and the kids are all getting ready for the day. But Gabe brought me this wonderful hidden nest of duck eggs that he found. I was wondering why our ducks haven't been laying, and I just assumed that it was because the weather was changing and getting colder that they just decided to stop laying for a while. But he discovered about 18 or 19 duck eggs just in a hidden nest. And so when you find a nest like this, you have to float test them. Basically what you do is you submerge all the eggs in water. You can do this with any kind of eggs, chicken eggs, duck eggs, turkey eggs, whatever you have. You submerge them in water, and if they are fresh, new eggs, they'll just kind of stay laid down on their side in the bottom of the sink. But if they're older eggs, the older an egg gets, the more air kind of seeps through the shell and the membrane of the egg. And as it fills with air, that will make the egg start to float. So an egg that might be at a 45-degree angle might be slightly older, but it's still edible. But if the egg starts to get to a vertical position, then you know that that egg is old, and I'm probably don't want to eat it, and I'm going to feed that back to the animals. So I'm going to float test these, and hopefully these are still good. It's been cool enough outside that it should have kept them nice and fresh for us. Alright, this is exciting. All of these eggs seem to be lying flat, so they're good. So I'm just going to go ahead and scrub them and get them clean so we can put them in the fridge. I keep a little scrub brush up by our sink and scrub the outside of any eggs that come in from the coop that have mud, or unfortunately sometimes they even have poop on them. And those eggs are fine to eat so long as you scrub the shell, but once you scrub them, they have to be stored in the fridge to prevent spoilage. Now, eggs that come in from the coop clean can be kept in a basket on the kitchen counter, and those stay good for fresh eating for weeks, and so that's often how we just store the eggs that come in. But when you find a nest like this and you don't know how old they are and they're pretty filthy, they require a good scrubbing, and then we'll put these in the fridge. But we will eat these eggs. These will not go to waste. So now I'm just transferring all of the clean eggs to the fridge. This is the little container we use in the fridge, and there are 30 eggs, so this is really exciting. I know a certain 11-year-old boy who likes to bake that will be very excited about all these duck eggs, because duck eggs are just the best for baking. have all of my ingredients here sitting out on the counter. So why don't I show you what I'm putting in our split pea soup today. I say today because my recipe changes every time I make it. Most soups I make in this house just end up kind of being a fridge dump where I take whatever vegetables and leftover meat and broth that I have in the fridge, and then I use those for the soup. And it's just a wonderful way to prevent food waste and to use up the things that you just have a little bit of here and there left over from meals for the last few days. Let me show you what today's soup looks like though. You don't have to soak split peas or lentils overnight as you would other grains and beans, but I like to do it just because it I feel like it makes the soup cook faster when they're already pre-soaked. So here I have my split peas that have been soaking overnight, and this is just a mixture of some red lentils and some green lentils, and I'm going to add those in for just a little extra bit of protein. I have some leftover roasted potatoes from a couple days ago, and so I'm going to dice those up and put them in the soup. This is some leftover meat and the drippings from some ham steaks that we recently made, and I believe there's some onions in there too, so that'll add some more protein and some good flavor. And then I have this is just some bone broth that was in the fridge that I need to use up before that goes bad. We're going to add some bay leaves. I'll probably just put 2 in there. Parsley will be sprinkled in, and then of course salt and pepper. And I'm just going to put all of this into my pot here and get it simmering on the stove. So there you have it. Everything's all mixed together. This will simmer on my stove while we're doing school this morning and will be ready for us at lunchtime. The split peas and the potatoes will cook down and kind of thicken this up and give it a really nice creamy texture. You really can't go wrong with soup. You can't mess this up. So just don't be scared to use whatever's in your fridge to make a delicious soup for your meal. I've done the cost analysis, and I think I've mentioned this before, that split peas are one of the cheapest healthy meals that I can make for my children, and thankfully they love it. The split peas give a really sweet flavor and the texture is wonderful, and they ask for this multiple times a week through the winter. So if we had carrots in the house, I would add those to this right now. If we had a jar opened or some left over from a meal, I'd put those in there. Cooked beans would be great. Any kind of meat, you really can't go wrong. And the worst you could do is add too much salt. So what I do, because I don't really know how much salt was in the meat that I added to this or any of the other leftovers, so I'll cook it all down and then we'll put it in the kids' bowls, and then they can add additional salt to taste as they're eating it. So soup is done. Now on to the crackers. And now for our crackers. If you've ever made homemade crackers, you'll know how easy this is. It'll make you never want to buy them from the store again. We're doing a sourdough cracker today, but this could just as easily be done without the sourdough if that's something that you don't do. So what I have here is a cup of flour, and then I'm going to add a ½ teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of my sourdough starter here. This is just the discarded, unfed starter. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of lard. You could use butter if you're a dairy family. And then I'm going to add some herbs. I'm going to do rosemary here and some onion powder. And this is the King Arthur Flour Company cracker recipe. So this is not my own recipe. I really like this one and haven't found a need to vary from it. I've also made this cracker recipe before gluten-free. We do have a gluten-free sourdough starter here in the house, and so I use that discard with gluten-free flours if I want to make these for myself. But I'm making these for the kids today, so they're going to have gluten in them. But if you don't do sourdough, all you would need to do is just compensate for the starter by using a mixture of flour and water that would be equitable to the amount of sourdough starter that we have used. Alright, all of that is mixed up, so now I'm just going to put this in the fridge for about 30 minutes, let that lard get nice and hard. It'll make it easier to roll this out into our cracker shape. But this is going to go in the fridge, and then I need to tend to the children now that I've got lunch all ready. We're going to do some school, and then we'll get back to these crackers here in a little bit. Our dough has been in the fridge for about a half an hour, and it's nice and hard now, much easier to roll out this way. And so while Elizabeth is finishing up her school, I'm going to go ahead and roll this out on some parchment paper here, directly on my cookie sheet. I'm going to make it into like a large rectangular shape, and then I'm going to use a pizza cutter to cut it into my cracker slices. So I'll show you that here in a minute. Right, this is always the fun part. Gabe is using a pizza cutter here to shape our crackers. We like them just in little squares that are maybe like an inch, square inch size. So you just roll them this way, and then he'll roll them the other way. And after we're done, Elizabeth is going to do the fun part. You take a fork and you poke a hole kind of in the middle of each one of your squares. While he's doing this, my oven is preheating on 350 degrees. That is what we'll bake these on. Elizabeth's taking a little school break. She's just poking with a fork some little holes into each of the crackers. And then as soon as she's done, we'll place these in the oven and bake them on 350. And then meanwhile, our soup is cooking down nicely. I'm just making sure to stir it every now and then to keep it from sticking. We'll probably add a little more liquid to the top of this, and then this should be ready to go by lunchtime. Hi.
Hi.
All done and into the oven. They're going to go for 20 to 25 minutes. Crackers baked for about 25 minutes. And they look delicious. You'll notice that the edges always get a little crispier, and that's normal just because it's thinner. Ideally, they'd be the same thickness all the way across, but we're not aiming for perfection here. We just want them to taste good, right, Gabe?
Yeah.
Do you like these kind of crackers?
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah. What about split pea soup?
Yes, I love split pea soup too.
Yeah. You guys could probably eat that every day, couldn't you?
Yeah.
All right. Our soup is all done, just in time for lunch. I've got it all in bowls for the kids, and then what they'll do is they'll just take these crackers and kind of dip them in, scoop up soup with them. They really like to do that. So that is how we do our split pea soup. It ends up nice and creamy. Just has the meat in it. Just a really nice filling meal. Keeps you warm on a winter day. All right, the kids are going to eat their lunch, and I'm going to put little Ben down for a nap. I hope you enjoyed seeing our recipe for the crackers and soup and a little bit of our day, and I hope your day is also blessed. We'll talk to you again soon, friends. Bye.